Rise. Join me in the council prayer. Dear God, today as the session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please join me now in honoring America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, thank you and good evening. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Mendonça.
Here.
Councilor Mercia.
Here.
Mayor Milanazzo.
Here.
Councilor Murphy.
Here.
Councilor Broderick.
Here.
Councilor Caulfield.
Here.
Councilor Dakota.
Here.
Councilor Elliott.
Here.
Councilor Martin.
Here.
9 present.
Thank you. The first order of business tonight, really, in keeping with the council prayer, is to recognize the 2 awards under the 2010 Green Building Excellence Awards to, again, working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. And what I'd like to do is recognize David Turcott, who's the chairman of the city's Green Building Commission. We have 2 award recipients this evening, and they're both here in attendance, and I want to thank them on behalf of my colleagues for being here. The first award, if I could, again, the Green Building Commission did identify 2 property owners that did demonstrate excellence in green building practices in 2010. The 2010 City of Lowell Green Building Excellence Award for Commercial Structure is awarded to David Daly of Kennedy Place Trust for achieving a high level of energy efficiency in the new construction at 229 Stedman Street. Kennedy Place, or more familiar known as Pride Star EMS, incorporates numerous energy efficiency elements into a 15,000 square foot commercial building while saving significantly on heating costs through insulation and south-facing solar gain. The design also includes stormwater management. Kennedy Place is an excellent example of what can be achieved in a commercial project. So on behalf of my colleagues, I'd like to congratulate David Daly of Kennedy Place Trust on this 2010 Green Building Award. Congratulations, David. The chair would like to recognize David Turcott, who is here representing the Green Building Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And the second award, the Green Building Excellence Award for Residential Structure, is awarded to Bernard and Diana Shapiro for exemplary energy efficiency and on-site renewable energy facilities. These facilities include over 240 square feet of photovoltaic panels, a sun-time solar water heater, and other amenities built into the single-family home on Pine Street. The Shapiro's home is an excellent example of green building at the residential level and provides a model for other residential buildings. So again, on behalf of my colleagues, congratulations to the Shapiros, and I would ask you to come to the podium. Thank you very much, and congratulations on your fine work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you again.
Thank you.
David,
And thank you.
microphone is yours.
Yes, and on behalf of the Green Building Commission, I'd just like to thank the City Council and the City Manager for the opportunity to present our this is the second annual Excellence in Green Building Award, and we look forward to the third annual one next year. And as you know, the city's been a leader in this area of encouraging green and sustainable practices, and it's important to recognize folks who are leaders within the community. So thank you again, and have a good evening.
Thank you, David. And we certainly appreciate the good work of the Green Building Commission. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilor Mercia.
I think that there was an honorable mention to Temple Emmanuel on Forest Street for their significant energy savings achieved, and I just
thank
wanted
you.
to recognize them as well. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up. Councilor Martin.
Thank you. Congratulations to all the recipients and, for their good work. I don't know if they're here. I don't know if any of them wanted to be heard, or they're just happy to accept the award and move on. But if take the trouble to come down here, they want to say something about their project.
David Daly, would you like to say a few words to the council? Councilor Martin is just suggesting that if you'd like to say.
Not required.
Not required. But we know you're not bashful, and either... Thank you, David.
You guys have like 20 minutes?
Yeah.
I'll make it short. I actually would just like to thank the commission and the city council. I think more focus on green building and sustainability needs to be adhered to and needs to be focused on. And by honoring people for doing such work, I think it creates an atmosphere that people would like to follow. So I just like to thank the city council and the commission for honoring us. And, you know, I look forward as a general contractor to continue the type of green construction in the future and leading the way here in Lowell. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, David. Mr. Shapiro, would you like to come forward?
Very briefly,
Thank you.
I got into this at the university. They had someone come in and show how to create these homes. And I had a big house on Tyler Park, that big white stucco with the red tiles and everything. And I bought a piece of land up on right opposite Lincoln Parkway, where all the rich people live. And but I've got a 150-foot driveway back there, and the house. First, I put up the hot water tanks, and then I put up the photovoltaics, and they're working very well.
It's wonderful.
And I guess we're going to be talking about it later at another meeting. And I have some paperwork showing everything, the amount of money that I've created and so forth by using the photovoltaics. So thank you.
Wonderful.
And if any of you get up into the rich area, come on over and I'll show you the house.
Thank you, Mr. Shapiro. Again, thank you to the Green Building Commission. Next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the March 1st meeting for acceptance. Motion by Council Murphy, seconded by Council Mendonça to accept the minutes as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Under City Manager, Communications, responses to council motions and requests. Council Caulfield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I spoke to the manager earlier before the meeting, and maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I asked the manager to get in touch with Mass Municipal Association and so forth to see if there's any federal aid out there for the winter we've gone through. And President Obama is bringing in money into the state of Massachusetts for the storm of January 11th and 12th. How much money the city of Lowell could receive, I don't know, but it's certainly a welcome, and we can certainly use that aid.
Thank you. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, and thank you, Councilor, for bringing attention to that. As you know, as I reported last week or the week before, we were following up with our other municipalities, and the governor was successful and the state was successful in making the case to the federal government. And as you indicate, for the storm of January 11th and 12th, there's been an allotment of money set aside for the state, broken down by county. And now we'll go in and we're pulling all the records together right now for submittal. And it could mean, a few thousand, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 for us, somewhere along those lines, maybe more. So but I appreciate the bringing that. I didn't have a chance to put that into the packet for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on motions, responses? Hearing none, motion by Council Martin, seconded by Council Elliott to accept the communications placed on file. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Next item, communications from City Manager requesting approval of out-of-state travel. I believe we have 3 this evening.
Motion to take them all together and motion to approve.
Motion to take them all together by Council Mercia, second by Council Dakota. All those in favor of taking them together signify by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Motion by Council Mercia to approve, second by Council Caulfield. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilor Mendonça?
Yes.
Councilor Mercia?
Yes.
Mayor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Murphy?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Dakota?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you. Next item, in-city council vote, authorizing the city manager to execute a notice of activity and use limitation and an access agreement regarding property at 93 Billerica Street, Lowell, former Costa's dump site. Whereas the city of Lowell owns property at 93 Billerica Street And whereas Colonial Gas, doing business as National Grid, is completing outstanding work pursuant to an administrative consent order that it entered into in 1989 with the DEP in connection with the former Costa's dump site on Barica Street. And whereas the city-owned portion of the site is located at 93 Barica Street, and whereas the portion of the property comprises part of a disposal site as a result of a release of oil and/or hazardous material, and whereas the notice of activity and use limitation has been established with the selected remedial approach for the former Costa dump site, and to maintain the conditions that support applicability of the conclusion of no significant risk, whereas any and all such environmental activities will be performed with environmental requirements of applicable federal and Massachusetts law and related regulations, and whereas the City Council must authorize the city manager to execute said notice of activity and use limitation to property on behalf of the City of Lowell, and whereas the City Council must authorize the city manager to execute an access agreement to allow Colonial Gas, doing business as National Grid, access to the city property. Now therefore be it voted by a 2/3 vote of the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows: that the City Council of the City of Lowell hereby authorizes the city manager to execute on behalf of the City of Lowell a notice of activity and use limitation and an access agreement to Colonial Gas, doing business as National Grid, in completing outstanding work pursuant to an administrative consent order that it entered into in 1989 with the DEP in connection with the former Costa's dump site on Barica Street in Lowell. Said notice of activity and use limitations for 93 Barica Street shall be in the form or substantially the form attached hereto marked A. And be it further voted that the city manager is hereby authorized on behalf of the City of Lowell to execute any other related documents pertaining to the subject matter of the above vote consistent therewith. Second reading by title. In City Council vote, authorizing the city manager to execute a notice of activity and use limitation and an access agreement regarding property at 93 Barica Street, Lowell, former Costa's dump site. It's the wish of the council.
There's two individuals from National Grid today.
Oh, okay, we have some folks here from National Grid. If it's okay if we have them come to the microphone? If anybody have any questions, or we just want to move approval, or? Move approval by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Caulfield. Does anyone have any questions of National Grid? Councilor Martin?
No, I just a comment, other than if something like this were in place the first time, we wouldn't have to go through that with the houses that were having to be removed, and to appreciate the efforts of Colonial Gas and now National Grid, stepping up to address this situation. So,
Thank you. Councilor Elliott?
I was going to say something similar, and maybe just have the individuals give a brief explanation as for the people at home as
Okay.
exactly what's taking place.
Thank you. Name and who you're representing, please.
Sure. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time this evening. My name is Jason Naden. I'm an environmental engineer with National Grid, the Site Investigation and Remediation Group. And for many years, National Grid's been working on the site at 89 to 103 Billerica Street. And we've recently completed response actions in the remedial process at that site under the administrative consent order and under the oversight of Mass DEP and under the Massachusetts contingency plan, which in itself is a part of the process environmentally with Mass DEP. And we wanted to just give you a quick background on that. For future obligations and monitoring and maintenance, National Grid stepping forward in the future to do that. That's just why we're looking for the access with you folks. And I also did want to real briefly thank the assistant manager, Adam Backey, and his team for taking care of the technical details and working with us. We had that all resolved before the meeting tonight. And also to Councilor O'Connor and Councilor Fenton for squaring with the details as well. It's super helpful. As many of you guys know, the MCP process is administered by DEP and has substantial public information and involvement activities built into the process already. And my group at National Grid, we operate under the same transparency umbrella, so I just wanted to let everyone know that not only is all the site files publicly available, but they're available electronically and online at the Mass DEP website. I also have a notepad sheet up here for if people have technical questions or information, certainly can take care of that. And also locally, all the site files that we have, engineering reports, those types of things are available locally, both at the Public Library Repository and at the Board of Health as well. So this is, as I said, at the end of the process. We've completed the response actions, and we kind of get to see where the hard work by folks has created an environmental and community benefit. So as kind of standard practice at the end of these sites, we have our licensed site professional here. His name is Jim Ash. He's with GEI Consultants out of Woburn. And as an LSP, he's licensed and authorized by DEP to make these response action decisions. And we just make him available if there are any technical considerations or questions. And if you do, you can certainly address them to Jim and myself, and we'll answer exactly, how best.
Great. Thank you very much. Council Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Does that site once had 4 or 5 homes on it, on Baroka Street?
Yeah, I believe it had 3.
Yeah, that goes back to 1988. I'm very, very familiar with that issue. And I want to thank the neighbors on that street who organized and made something happen that was positive. So I think this is a good vote.
Thank you. Anyone else want to be heard? Roll call.
Councilor Mendonça?
Yes.
Councilor Mercia?
Yes.
Mayor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Murphy?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Dakota?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you. Thanks you and your colleague for being here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Next item in City Council vote, declaring surplus property located at 39 Myrtle Street, also known as 115 6th Street, the Varnum Elementary School, and authorizing the city manager to seek proposals under the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30B, for the disposition of said parcel, namely 39 Myrtle Street, also known as 115 6th Street, Varnum Elementary School. Whereas the city of Lowell is the owner of the property at 39 Myrtle Street, also known as 115 6th Street, Varnum Elementary School, Lowell, recorded at Middlesex North Registry of Deeds in Book 286, page 366. And whereas by letter dated March 2nd, 2011, the city manager has recommended that the city council authorize the Department of Planning and Development to seek a proposal for purchase and to include therein a minimum proposal of $492,000. Now therefore be it voted by a 2/3 vote that the city of Lowell, property at 39 Myrtle Street, also known as 115 6th Street, total lot area approximately 47,625 square feet, plus or minus, is hereby declared surplus property and not presently needed for municipal purposes. The city manager, acting through the Department of Planning and Development, is hereby authorized to proceed with the disposition of said property under the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30B, and to include therein a minimum proposal price of $492,000, and to also include required notification to all abutters pursuant to the Code of the City of Lowell, Section 60-2. Be it further voted that the request for proposal shall contain such other terms, restrictions, and conditions as the city manager deems are in the best interest of the City of Lowell. Second reading by title. In City Council vote, declaring surplus property located at 39 Myrtle Street, also known as 115 6th Street, Varnum Elementary School, and authorizing the city manager to seek proposals under the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30B, for the disposition of said parcel, namely 39 Myrtle Street, also known as 115 6th Street, Lowell.
Move approval.
Move approved by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Caulfield. Any discussion? Councilor Martin.
Just, is the RFP going to require reuse of the building? I mean, was it acceptable response to demo the building, or it has to have to be reused as constructed?
I don't think we've made a decision on that. I think our preference would be that they reuse the building. It is a historic building here in the city. I'm not sure if it officially is historic, but Mr. Bakey, if you have any comments on that?
At the moment, our intention is not to put a restriction in the RFP. However, I think there are 2 factors that will make it extremely likely that the building would be reused. First of all, just the basic economics of renovating the building versus tearing it down and building new suggest that there's more they can do by keeping the building. And secondly, the building, while I don't think it is listed on the National Register of Historic Places, I believe it's eligible, and therefore it would be possible to obtain state and federal historic tax credits to help finance a redevelopment project if you reuse the building. So again, that makes it more likely that someone would. Our zoning, as you know, many members of this council were instrumental in adopting a provision of our zoning that allows for the reuse of facilities like that under certain restrictions in neighborhoods, and so the option at least exists for folks under the zoning as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Councilor Caulfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A few years ago, I brought in a motion to have the city put out an RFP on the 10th Street School. It was decaying, and it was purchased. And the gentleman who purchased that turned it into something that's absolutely beautiful. The entire neighborhood loves it. Matter of fact, it's probably the nicest building now in that area. My question on this building is, the Varnum School is it's solid, good foundation, a slate roof and so forth, but it needs some tender loving care. It'd be wonderful if someone who purchases would go on the tax rolls. Would you know that, Mr. Manager? That's very important.
Right, I anticipate that that will be the case, but obviously we're putting this out for competitive bid, and we'll evaluate each proposal that comes in terms of this overall financing.
Because that's the positive
Absolutely.
thing of this vote. I mean, if you put this building on the tax rolls, it's revenue coming into the city.
That's right.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilman Mendoza.
Yes, there's certainly an interest in the property, given that, of course, there were two nonprofits have made presentations about how they would reuse the Centerville property. I'm happy to see that we're making it surplus and trying to get it back on the tax rolls, and if not that, at least used for some purpose that'll benefit the residents of the area. I would note one typo in here is that the whereas for the letter written 2012, I think it was last week, not next year.
I did say 2011.
did.
I saw that too. I
Okay,
did say
very good.
2011. Mayoral decision.
Very good.
Thank you.
I'm concerned about the price that's being put on it, if there'll be someone bidding at that level. So I do not want to see this languish. So I was just wondering, how soon would we know if we have proposals for this that we could either be looking at accepting them or possibly redoing it to something that might be appropriate at the time?
I think we're pretty ready to put an RFP out. Adam, do you have any comments on timing for that?
We have the bulk of an RFP drafted. We could likely get one out and have it available probably within 30 days if the council votes this evening to surplus the property. We typically prefer to leave the RFPs, especially on a building of this scale, out at least 60 days to give people enough time to put together meaningful responses and meaningful proposals for us. So basically, we're looking at probably 3 months from now. We could know what kind of feedback we're going to get. That price is based on a market appraisal. It's a pretty sizable building. It's actually in fairly good condition in terms of the exterior envelope. So it's not surprising that that was the value of the building, and I think it is not an unrealistic number. So hopefully, we will see some good pricing or some good proposals at that price. In the, I think, unlikely event that we do not, then we have the ability to have it looked at again and come back with the council and discuss options, and that would be about 3 months from now, most likely.
So about 90 days, you'll have a good idea of whether you're going to proceed with this or it might come back before us. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Roll call.
Councilor Mendoza?
Yes.
Councilor Mercia?
Yes.
Mayor Milanazzo?
Yes.
Councilor Murphy?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Dakota?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next item in City Council resolution. The City Council of the City of Lowell wishes to be recorded in opposition of proposed cuts in federal grants such as community service grants, community development block grants, housing investment partnership program, emergency shelter grant program, EPA brownfield assessment and cleanup grants, economic development administration, brownfields economic development initiative grants, section 108 loan guarantee program, energy efficiency conservation block grants, BJA JAG local, the GREAT program, Safe and Drug-Free Schools, ARA local, JAG, ARA Violence Reduction Initiative, COPS, technology grants, and other such federal grants that affect the City of Lowell. Whereas there are grave concerns regarding proposed cuts in federal grant monies and the amount received by the City of Lowell, and whereas any reduction in the amount of community service grants, community development block grants, housing investment partnership programs, emergency shelter grant programs, EPA brownfield assessment and cleanup grants, economic development administration, brownfields economic development initiatives, grants, section 108, loan grant programs, energy efficiency, section conservation block grants, BJA JAG Local, the GREAT Program, Safe and Drug-Free Schools, ARRA Local JAG, ARRA Violence Reduction Initiative, COPS Technology Grants, as well as other such federal grants for the City of Lowell would have serious consequences for the DPD, the CDBG, Public Safety, Lowell Police Department, Fire Department, neighborhoods, housing, and residents of the City of Lowell, and whereas the City Council, being mindful of the forecasted financial cutbacks, desires to ensure that the City of Lowell receives its fair allocation of federal grants designed to aid local governments. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows: that we, the members of the City Council of the City of Lowell, hereby oppose cuts in the Community Service Grants, Community Development Block Grants, Housing Investment Partnership Program, Emergency Shelter Grant Program, EPA Brownfields Assessment and Cleanup Grants, Economic Development Administration, Brownfields Economic Development Initiative Grants, Section 108 Loan Guarantee Program, Energy Efficiency, Conservation Block Grants, BJA JAG Local, the GREAT Program, Safe and Drug-Free Schools, ARRA Local JAG, ARRA Violence Reduction Initiative, COPS Technology Grants, and other such federal grants at the city that affect the City of Lowell. This resolution adopted by vote of the City Council on the 8th day of March 2011. Motion
Thank
to approve
you.
the resolution?
Oh, sure.
Motion to approve the resolution by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Broderick. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd also like to thank City Solicitor Christine O'Connor for drawing up the proper vote in conjunction with the manager who pulled the different departments to put everything in there. And we are going to send this to probably Congresswoman Nikki Songus. If we could send a copy to Community Teamwork, I would appreciate that. They'd be happy to know that we did put forth such a resolution. I think this is a good vote this evening. We could at least try and send it to the president, see if we could, make him change his mind on certain areas, if not all, but I know that it probably couldn't be all. But thank you to my colleagues. I know they haven't supported it yet through a vote, but it is good, and I want you to know that I appreciate all the hard work that went into this. Thank you.
Anyone else on? Councilor Elliott.
Well, I think that the timing is pretty good because we all received a letter from Congresswoman Songus dated the 28th that indicates that there will not be any earmarks in Congress, but please, please apply for competitive grant funding. And it talks a little bit more about funding. So I think the timing of this is perfect, and it's a good motion.
Thank you. Councilman Donza.
Good. I agree that there are a lot of worthy causes in here, and that there's certainly many organizations that will benefit from this. But I just want to explain that I will vote against it because the federal deficit is so huge that they're going to have to cut something. They're $1 trillion in the red. We are, in Massachusetts, what they call a donor taxpayer to the federal government, and that we pay more than we receive. In order to maintain all the programs that the federal government is proposing, we'd be paying more to them than we'd be getting back. And I would be much more in favor of them actually making the cuts. It'll help our residents of Massachusetts. All the taxpayers would be paying far less. In order to get 82 cents back, we have to give them $1. For me, it's better if they were just cut, let us keep the $1 and use it in state. That's just me explaining why I'm doing it. I see the worthiness of the vote. I have nothing against the resolution per se. I just want to reduce our federal deficit and make it reasonable for our taxpayers.
Thank you. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you. I certainly respect Councilman Dunce's feeling on this issue, but Mr. Manager, when the federal government offers us the aid to us for this horrible winter we had, should we take it or refuse it?
Thank
Same
you.
thing.
Anyone else on the resolution? Roll call.
Councilor Mendonça?
No.
Councilor Mercia?
Yes.
Mayor Milanazzo?
Yes.
Councilor Murphy?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Dakota?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 nay.
Thank you. The clerk will actually send the resolution around for signature. Next item in City Council vote, amending the City Council Rule Number 12 regarding distribution of the City Council agenda and all related documents by electronic distribution. Now therefore be it voted by the City Council of the City of Lowell by a 2/3 vote as follows, that Rule 12 is amended by striking the words 2 o'clock in the first sentence of the first paragraph and replacing it with the word noon, and that Rule 12 is further amended by inserting after the phrase, quote, or left at his or her usual dwelling place, end quote, the phrase, quote, and or delivered by electronic means to whatever extent practicable, close quote. Second reading by title in City Council vote, amending the City Council Rule Number 12 regarding the distribution of the council agenda and all related documents by electronic distribution. Councilor Caulfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This vote means that you could receive the packet in paper form or electronic form.
Correct.
It's your choosing. Right.
Do I have a motion? Motion to approve by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Mendonça. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Councilor Mendonça.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Murphy.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Dakota.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
9 yes.
Next item, an ordinance, in City Council ordinance, an ordinance amending code of the City of Lowell with respect to Chapter 290 thereof entitled zoning by amending Article 1, Purpose and Authority, Section 1.7, Amendment of Chapter by inserting a new subdivision 1.7.1 entitled Process for Petitioning Amendment to Zoning Map. We need to refer this to the Planning Board. Motion by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Broderick. Any discussion? This gets referred to the Planning Board for a report and recommendation. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, vote.
These next two go together and
Okay.
public hearing.
Thank you. The next two items, item number 9, communication from City Manager, presentation of capital plan for fiscal 2011, and then the loan order to borrow $3.2 million to fund projects in the capital plan. The loan order will be referred to a public hearing for March 22nd. And I would turn it over to the city manager at this point for a brief presentation, if my colleagues allow. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I will be very brief tonight. We do plan a more detailed presentation on the 22nd, but we sent out to members of the council a copy of the capital plan, which lists all of the projects that we currently have within our that have been submitted by departments for capital investment over the course of the next 5 years. If you recall, about a year, well, I don't think we did one last year because of the budget situation that we were in, and we wanted to get a little bit better handle on where the state's finances were moving forward, and we are getting, we certainly have that. But we did present a capital plan a couple of years ago that included a number of projects as well as some pieces of equipment. Many of the items that were in that capital plan, we've been able to knock off the list through the Amoresco project. And of course, as you know, the Amoresco project, which is proceeding quite well and actually currently under budget, that will be paid for by energy savings. And that's taken up many of the capital items that we had, the roofs, HVAC systems, windows in some cases. So really investing in our buildings, and as I say, it pays for itself through energy savings. So that puts us in a position now where we're able to present this capital budget to you for action on the 22nd with a focus this time primarily on equipment. This was something that we've been trying to focus on over the last year, or a little bit less, working with the Public Works people in particular, Eddie Flynn and Eddie Patnod in particular, this summer during the period in which we were without a DPW commissioner. Mr. Snow has come on and, along with Mr. Belgard, has worked quite hard with Mr. Moses and Mr. Herbert to put this capital request forward. As you'll see when you go through much of the information, the City of Lowell has very, very old equipment. we have trucks and pieces of apparatus that is, in some cases, 20 and 30 years old, that this particular year, they worked miracles, I will tell you, in keeping those snow plows and that snow equipment on the street. And, but we've reached a point, really, with our equipment that we aren't able to really keep it running efficiently. It costs more to repair than we really should be paying, putting into this equipment. There's a lot of downtime, and so we have people being compensated basically in waiting for equipment to come back online. So it really doesn't make good business sense for us to operate in that way. So what we've done is, I think there's quite a bit of information here on all of the various requests and the benefits of moving forward with much of the items that are included. There is some pictures, there's a financial analysis, and as I say, we'll have a more detailed presentation for you on the 22nd. What I did do, Councilor Mercer, in fact, before the meeting started, asked if perhaps we could put something together that was a little bit more easy to read, rather than going through all of the columns within the spreadsheet that's within this book. And so we handed out, I handed out right before the meeting started, Mr. Moses put this together quickly, a listing of the capital purchases and capital projects that are included here, including as I say, the infrastructure projects, the equipment, and then for the general fund, and then the equipment from the enterprises, and it lists the department that's affected. So I'd be happy to take any questions right now, but I think that we'll have a much more detailed presentation for you on the 22nd.
Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, have we retired any debt recently?
Yes, we have. Our debt has actually gone down over the last couple of years in terms of our general fund, and that will continue to occur. And so that's a very good question. What it indicates is that there is some capacity, debt capacity, and there's also, again, from a strategic perspective, it makes sense to continue to invest in your infrastructure and continue to invest in your equipment.
Well, I know how crucial it is, and I'm not supposed to form an opinion, but I do know how they're trying to improvise to get the vehicles on the road. Right. And we did look at other departments to see if there's anything available that we could have taken off the list.
Yes.
And we also are aware that there's other, different other places that have salvage that, and I don't mean junk, but I mean that they, like Devon's and things like that, there's places that we could probably get a bargain. Have we checked that out as well?
Council, that's a very good point. And as you before the meeting, you had asked me a couple of questions that related to that. I think it's a good opportunity for us to have this discussion. The idea of moving equipment between departments. Some of that's already been included. There are a number of pieces of equipment in particular that either were taken off, were not funded, or they were moved into a future year because we know that there's other pieces of equipment that we can transfer. And therefore, we reduced the initial capital budget number for fiscal year 11 was somewhere in excess of $5 million. And we took a couple $1 million off by doing just that, by just saying no or by moving equipment around. The second point that you make is also a very good one. There are other levels of government, other agencies, municipalities, the state government, federal government, independent agencies that do have surplus equipment. It's unclear what we have to pay to get that. That's why the amount that we've included here is what it would cost to buy new. However, we have the flexibility if we see, for instance, a front loader, and I don't even think we have a front loader on here, but a backhoe, that if we could buy a backhoe from Devon's or from Mass Highway or from the town of Mansfield, we would have the ability with this money to go in and just pay the $20,000 perhaps, if that made sense, to achieve our goals.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Mendoza?
Through you, Mr. Manager, when you come back with the presentation of the public hearing, could you provide for the council and those at home a chart, I think you've done in the past when we're voting on capital improvements, as to what's been retired, where it's expected to go as it is, Amoresco and things coming online and what's coming off, and where this would fit in, and presuming that would be somewhere maintaining a certain level of spending, so that folks at home understand this is not going to impact down the road. This is all planned, and the fact that it is a capital plan, not just a spending to replace.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Johnson, then Council Caulfield.
Yeah. In essence, Council Broderick just brought up what I was going to do, is for when we have the next presentation, to have an idea of how this impacts us in FY11, and as we prepare the budget for FY12 and the debt service, how will that play against the other pressures on our budget that we have. So it'd be, you don't have to answer it right now, but obviously when we do the presentation next time, we want to know what the impact will be, and if we can really afford this, because I'm really concerned with the snow and ice deficit that we have. In the past, we've been able to negate most of that with savings in other departments. This year may not be so easy, and I just want to make sure that this is not going to have a huge impact budgetarily. It's going to force the tax rate up higher than we want it to be.
Thank you. Council Caulfield? I'm sorry.
If I
you
may,
wanna-
Mr. Mayor, just to the Councilman Johnson's point, this capital budget will not have any impact on FY11. Assuming it's approved in the next month, hopefully on the 22nd, it will not impact this. It will have a very minimal impact on FY12, because anything we do then will just be short-term borrowing, for which you just only pay interest from the time period till you then assume the long-term debt. The real impact of this will begin to be felt in FY13. And we will have that chart that Councilor Broderick mentioned, will show how this all fits in. And there will be a little bit of a blip at the beginning, but then it feeds into the retirement of the other debt.
Okay.
But for FY11, no impact. FY12, minimal, just a short-term interest portion on the aspects that we move forward with immediately.
Okay. Well, I look forward to seeing that detailed information. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Caulfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just very briefly, I'll have more to say during the public hearing, but the two mechanics up the DPW garage, Eddie Flynn, Eddie Patnog, and a host of other people, the minute you put any amount of money into a vehicle that is aged, you're wasting the money, and it's not efficient to run a department like that. So I'll have more to say at the public hearing. And I do know, Mr. Manager, that the federal government, Air Force bases, naval bases, and so forth, they do have snow fighting equipment. It's surplus, but you have to be at the right time to request that. But it is available, because I know businesses have taken advantage of that.
Mr. Manager?
Again, Councilor Mercier made the same point, to request, asking that we look into that. And as I indicated to Councilor Mercier, I have done that in the past. I've purchased equipment from the federal government when it becomes surplus. But again, you have to have the ability to move quickly, because
Right.
you're competing against others. So that's why this type of
Sometimes
funding
it's
is needed.
absolutely no cost at all.
Exactly. So.
Thank you. Council Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had similar concerns that have been raised by others about not only the demonstration of the need for this. I mean, there's always a need, and that's easy to convince people of the need, but the repayment plan is really, I think, what we're interested in, to make sure we can afford this. And I do think, when you meet with the auditors, for example, you can be criticized if you have too much debt, but you could also be criticized if you have too little debt, because that means you're not investing enough in your future and in your infrastructure. So it can be a fiscally sound way to operate here if it's done responsibly, and I think that's just what we want to be assured of at the hearing.
Thank you. If I could, let me read the loan order to get it into the minutes. In City Council, loan order, capital improvement bonds to borrow $3,256,972 for the purpose of financing various capital improvements and any related architectural and engineering services in connection therewith, and any costs incidental and related thereto. It is ordered by the City Council of the City of Lowell by a two-thirds vote as follows. Ordered that the sum of $3,256,972 is appropriated for the purpose of financing the following capital improvements and any related architectural and engineering services in connection therewith, any costs incidental and related thereto. 1. Citywide roadway and sidewalk improvements. 2. Window replacement at the LeBlanc School. 3. Solar-powered crossing lights at various school crossings. 4. Door replacement at Lowell High School. 5. Chiller replacement at the Butler and Bailey Schools. 6. Replacement of the backup generator at DPW. And 7. Various vehicle replacement that to meet this the appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the city manager, is authorized to borrow $3,256,972 and issue bonds or notes therefore under General Law, Chapter 44, or any other enabling authority that the city manager is authorized to contract for and expend any federal or state aid available for the projects, that the city manager is authorized to take any action necessary to carry out the projects, and that the treasurer is authorized to file an application with the Municipal Finance Oversight Board to qualify any and all of the bonds under General Law, Chapter 44A, and to provide such information, execute such documents as such board may require for these purposes. Order recommended, introduced by Bernard F. Lynch, City Manager. Again, refer to public hearing March 22nd by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Caulfield. All those in favor of referring to public hearing signify by saying aye. Opposed, to vote. Moving on to reports. City Council Rules Subcommittee report on election issue rules. The chair recognizes Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The subcommittee met in response to a motion, or it may have been more than one motion filed by Councilor Murphy regarding the conduct of local elections and whether there could be changes made to increase voter participation in local elections. We had previously considered a couple items and that have been already acted upon by the council, and there were remaining items. At the meeting, a number of representatives from various neighborhood groups were present throughout the city who expressed a desire to have some input into this process, that they thought it would be a worthwhile endeavor for them to undertake a review and solicit public feedback as to whether any changes might be warranted, and actually requested the subcommittee to appoint a committee of their group to study this issue. So the subcommittee did, in fact, the recommendation from the subcommittee is to appoint what would be called, I guess, a charter review committee comprised of neighborhood groups who would study whether election law changes are desirable or recommended, that would report back to the full council. It would be an advisory committee in nature, and any changes that may result or be recommended would ultimately have to be approved by the council and then also likely approved by the state legislature. The time frame that they suggested was a period of 6 to 9 months, and so what the subcommittee suggested was one member be selected from each of the various neighborhood groups in the city with one alternate, and then they would inform us who those people are, would come back to the clerk, and then the committee would be confirmed by the council, and then do their work and report back in whatever time frame they felt necessary. The neighborhood groups would be the Acre Group, the Lower Highlands, the Highland Circle Group, Belvedere, Pawtucketville, Downtown, Centerville, the Sacred Heart Riverside Group, and Back Central. So that was a recommendation adopted unanimously by the subcommittee, and so we would, I guess, ask that the full council adopt that recommendation and proceed with the formation of this committee.
Thank you. Motion by Council Martin, second by Council Mercia to adopt the recommendation of the Rules Subcommittee. Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This group, and I have to say, I'm probably somewhat not supportive of groups trying to do the job of a council, but I see this as a different type of a situation. These are neighborhood people who in and of themselves spend a great deal of time supporting their neighborhood through various meetings to see how they can improve and make it a better place to live in the city of Lowell. These are the same people that came before us this evening that are concerned about voter participation and how could they gain a better understanding with the public to make changes to the charter to try to make a better voter turnout. And they're going to be doing this work pro bono, doing it themselves, spending of their time, and each of those people in the committee, now this is not a charter commission, I wouldn't have supported that, but this is a charter review committee of 9 people that would be on the committee and 9 alternative people when they can't attend meetings, that again, given at their time, to survey people to see if maybe the winter is not a good time to vote. Maybe the spring is a better time. Maybe Tuesday isn't a good time to vote. Maybe Saturday would bring out more people. So it's things such as this that they're going to investigate to see and compile data, put it all together, and present it to this council. I think that they're doing a valuable service to give us some ideas as to how can we improve the population in the city to come out and vote at perhaps a better time in the year, a better day. I might not agree with everything that they have to say. Do they want term limits? I don't know. I think that every time people go to the polls, our term could be limited. And so, having said that, I think, they're doing the city a good service of their time, and so I support that, and I hope my colleagues do too. Give them a chance. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Mercia. Council Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too applaud this Citizen Advisory Committee to investigate ways and means of improving the city and improving how people vote. But through you, Mr. Mayor, to the solicitor, once this committee comes forward, any changes in the form of government we have now, the district councils and so forth, you have to form a charter commission, I believe, in order to make those changes. Is that so?
Not necessarily, although any changes that they may come forward on would, as Councilor Martin had, I believe, pointed out, any suggested changes, final action would have to take place from the council. There is another method, however, other than a charter commission, and that would be by there's one issue that was being looked at that could be done by home rule petition, but most of them would be done by special act, which, for all intents and purposes, is much the same thing.
So, Madam Solicitor, what you're saying, if this form of government is changed from 9 councilors to 13 councilors, you wouldn't have to have a charter change?
That was not one of the issues that was originally a motion by Councilor Murphy. So the issues that the law department had examined, which could trigger a charter commission, none of those issues would be necessarily satisfied by a charter commission alone. You would also have the option of going the route of a special act.
Okay.
Thank you. Councilman Mendonça.
I mean, certainly they can suggest a change in how we govern ourselves, and a special act is one of the ways that can be done. Regardless, they're not going to do that themselves. They're only going to bring back a recommendation, and it'll be incumbent upon us whether we want to support that or not, or if there are multiple recommendations. One of their recommendations could be, as imperfect as the system is, maybe it's still the best we have as an option. So that's an option for them as well. They can report that back. Whatever they do, as they look at this, they might find something that would make it better, and we should certainly at least consider it. And so I'm supportive going forward with this and having the committee report back to us at some point.
Thank you. Council Martin.
I just make one final point. I mean, what's driving this obviously is kind of the lack of participation in local elections, which is not unique to Lowell. But I think we all at election time kind of lament the lack of voter participation, and so I think it's in all our interests to get more people to participate in the process. At the same time, there is a tension here because you've got 9 people who are elected under the rules the way they are. And there's going to be some natural resistance, I think, to change them. But nevertheless, I think it's in the city's best interest and all our interest to have as many people voting as we possibly can. There may well, and I expect there will be disagreements on what the best way to do that is. If certain changes are going to encourage more participation, we may or may not agree. And in fact, the people that spoke at the subcommittee don't even agree themselves on this. So, but I think I think that's healthy that not everybody agrees to this going in, and I think it is more likely to lead to a healthy outcome and a thoughtful set of recommendations. So I think the goal is a worthy one, to try and encourage participation, and whatever we can do to encourage people to encourage that is a worthwhile endeavor for us to undertake.
Thank you. Councilor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I appreciate those who did come to speak earlier tonight, and those who were willing to participate over the next year. And because I think it is, we would do well from time to time to actually, reflect on what it is we're doing and whether or not we're headed in the right direction. So I also appreciate Councilor Martin's efforts on the subcommittee as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the report of the Rules Committee? All those in favor of the Rules Committee's recommendation as presented signify by saying aye. Opposed? It's a vote. And again, picking up on Councilor Murphy's thank you. Thank you to the Rules Subcommittee for having the 2 meetings regarding the motions brought forward by Councilor Murphy. We have, under petitions, we have 3 claims: 2 property damage, 1 personal injury, referred to the Law Department by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Dakota. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Moving on to the motion section. First motion by Councilor Mercia. Motion, City Council requests the city manager designate space to display White Ribbon Day proclamation, and each year designate month of March to temporarily set up the pledge sheet and other items in association with White Ribbon Day ceremony. Seconded by Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last Thursday, in the lobby of this city hall, the manager, along with the mayor, observed the annual White Ribbon Day ceremony. This event was largely attended, more so this year than in the past. Men signed a pledge to help end domestic violence against women. This motion is in response to that ceremony, and the organizers asked me, Mr. Manager, if I could follow forward to you a request to set aside a place in the lobby, perhaps on either side of the quilt at the top of the stairs where the men stood behind you during the ceremony. They wanted this for the purpose of displaying the proclamation, and set aside a month of March to display pledge signatures and how the campaign grew from year to year. The proclamation does no justice sitting in a drawer, but it would have it on display would be quite remarkable to the organizers of this worthy event. Other memorabilia regarding this event will just be displayed temporarily during the month of March and not be affixed permanently to any part of the wall, so that they asked me if I could do that and refer it to you.
Thank you, Councilor Mercier.
And I'm sure if you have any more questions regarding that, you could call the organizers.
Mr. Manager?
Councilor, yes, I spoke with Kathy Kelly
Yes.
about this as well.
Okay.
She raised that possibility. I guess the question is whether it would be a permanent installation of those, or just to put them up during the month each year to have those proclamations and citations put up there. And we can find some space to highlight that.
Sure,
I think
that'd be
it would
fine.
have more,
You don't want to fix anything to a wall, but just to display it for the month of March.
Thank you.
I think she might have a different opinion about the proclamation, though.
okay, we'll see if we
Okay.
can find some space for.
Councilor Dakota.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councilor Mercier, for bringing this forward. And Mr. Manager, thank you very much. I attended that meeting. It was intense and emotional and beautiful. And to the men and women who participated, particularly the young men, we appreciate the time that you put into bringing this topic to the forefront. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed is a vote. Next motion by Councilor Mercia. Motion, City Council requests the city manager revisit the possibility of installing solar panels on our landfill, as well as consult with the town of Canton and the company Southern Sky Renewable Energy to see what the options, cost, feasibility, and long-term savings could be.
Second.
Second by Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr.
I knew that
Mayor.
was coming.
Yes,
Councilor
good.
Mercia.
And I know that this has been Councilor Rodney Elliott's motion in the past. I will not take that away from him. But I share that concern, and I at first when he brought it up, I said, well, this is bizarre. It's a thought, but I don't know that it could ever happen. And then I read something that changed my mind, and I thought of Councilor Rodney Elliott right away, but this is what it is, that he's been dealing with the landfill issues and what can we do to generate money. Each time we get responses that seem like a dead end, that nothing could be done there. So it came as a surprise to me when I read in the paper about Canton, Mass, and the similar circumstances that happened to that town, where the town has consulted and accepted bids from a renewable energy company to install solar panels on their landfill. The circumstances are similar to ours in that their landfill was capped 25 years ago, covered with a lining, and buried under a layer of soil and grass such as ours was. In an age where finances are suffering and the burden of the shortfall rests with the taxpayer, I feel, as Councilor Elliott does, that we must exhaust all avenues before we declare defeat. I'm not sure that we're there yet. I'm not declaring defeat. This motion asks you, Mr. Manager, to authorize someone to check into the town of Canton, perhaps talk to Victor Del Vecchio, the chairman of the Canton Board of Selectmen, to find out how they did it. The chairman said that over the next 25 years, the project could generate up to $70 million for the town. I'm not saying it would for us, because they're putting down so many solar panels, and we probably don't have that much land available there. And I think when you talk about those windmill things, you have to go way deep down, but a solar panel, you don't need to go deep. So there's a difference right there. And the town will save that money combined with new revenue and energy saving. Now, they selected a particular company called Sky Renewable Energy to install the solar panels. Now, the panels are expected to generate up to 5.6 megawatts of power by 2012, making it the largest installation in the region. We do not need to install that many panels, but then again, let's see if there's a possibility there. Because the state of Massachusetts is involved with the Solar Renewable Energy Certificate Program, and they must reach a production goal of 250 megawatts by the year 2017. Right now, the state has about 76 megawatts, and we in Lowell could play a role in helping the state to achieve their goal a little bit better, while we save the city money and generate a savings here. And lastly, the state requires that utilities companies purchase at least 6% of their power from new renewable energy sources to boost the state's reliance on green energy, Mr. Patrick Murphy. Did you hear that? Now, can you envision the utility company buying megawatts from the city of Lowell instead of the other way around? So I'm just saying through this motion, Mr. Manager, please let's give it a try. It doesn't hurt to explore the possibilities, and this time we may get the answer that we're looking for. Please don't tell me that I said all that.
Manager Lynch?
We still can't do it.
No, yeah, I thought it was very good. And you may recall that we've done solar in a number of locations in the city. We've done them at the schools, a number of schools, at the auditorium. And I'm quite sure we mentioned that we were working on the solar, on the landfill, and I haven't updated the council in a while perhaps on that, but we're actually in contract negotiations right now to put a solar farm out at the landfill. We have some issues that are a little bit different than Canton, I think, in terms of the methane extraction that we're already doing out there, that we're working through some issues, but we actually intend to move forward with the solar. As I say, we're in contract negotiations right now with Amoresco and some other parties involved in that, and it is our intention to have that done in the near future.
Councilor Elliott?
That was a great presentation. Councilor Mercia, I have a number of other motions that haven't been answered yet. And maybe you could file them for me and get the quick answer like this. That's good news, though. I think that's good news that we're moving forward. I mean, it's happening throughout the Commonwealth, throughout the nation, particularly on landfill. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Next motion by Councilor Mercia. Motion, request the City Council Public Safety Subcommittee schedule a meeting to discuss library issues. Second by Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one person registered to speak.
Actually, two.
Oh, two, okay.
Donna Duso.
Good evening. My name is Donna Duso. I live at 1J Road in Billerica, and I'm a library assistant at the Pollard Memorial Library. I want to thank Councilor Mercier for bringing forward this motion. I support the motion, and I look forward to hearing about the progress of the resolution set forth at the last Safety Subcommittee meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nancy Pitkin.
Thank you. I'm Nancy Pitkin. I live at 26 Waverly Ave in Lowell, and I am a member of the Library Board of Trustees, and I'd like to really thank all the other trustees and the other members of the task force that are here this evening to support me. The City Council Safety Subcommittee meeting on December 14th, 2010, voted 2 motions regarding the library to strengthen the user behavior policy by making it stricter and including specific penalties for specific behaviors, and to change the security guards' hours from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. to either 3 to 6 or 2:30 to 6. The mission of the Library Task Force is to examine the user policy, behavior policy, in light of the concerns about patron behavior expressed at the subcommittee meeting on December 14th. Additionally, the task force will discuss the library staff, the hours of the security guard, and make recommendations. The task force decided to take up the second motion first, the hours of the security guard. Ideally, the hours would be 2:30 to 9. It was pointed out that due to funding restraints, increasing the security guard's hours would require curtailing other library staff hours or library services. The task force members agreed that given the current library staffing, it is important to have the security guard present between 5 and 9 p.m. This is the period of time when the library has the least staff present. All members of the task force agreed that if a walkthrough by the Lowell police officer could be arranged during the afternoon after school, that would be an acceptable compromise. On the first motion, the task force members agreed to interview all the library staff about their concerns and recommendations concerning the user behavior policy at the library, since they have the most day-to-day experiences with the library patrons. The task force developed 7 open-ended questions as a group, and each member of the task force chose a question to ask at each interview. Each member of the task force asked the same question at each interview. The task force has met 4 times and interviewed 15 library staff. The task force completed the interviews in person on February 23rd. 5 library staff declined to be interviewed. 2 others of the library staff were unavailable to be interviewed. The library staff that declined to be interviewed or were unavailable were given the opportunity to contribute their input in writing. The 7 questions, the questionnaire the task force developed, was hand-delivered to them on Friday, February 25th. The completed questionnaires were due on Monday, February 28th. Only 1 library staff person returned the interview questionnaire. On Thursday, March 3rd, the letters of the December 14th Safety Subcommittee meeting were delivered to the director of the library, and the task force has not had the opportunity to review those documents. The task force reviewed the current library user policy and unattended children's policy, and specific updates and changes have been recommended to the Library Board of Trustees. The task force is continuing to analyze and assess the answers to the questionnaire to make recommendations to the Board of Trustees to meet the motions of the City Council Safety Subcommittee. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you. Council Mercia?
Yes, thank you very much. At the last meeting of the Public Safety Subcommittee on, I thought it was December 17th, but I think Nancy said December 14th, we questioned many things. First and foremost, I want the library and the people working in it to feel safe. And there's no question about that. And I think that's everybody's goal here. At the last meeting, we did address the security guard, and I'm happy that Nancy from the Board of Trustees came forward to say what was going on with the survey or whatever took place there. And I know that there was no change in the security guards from 5 to 9. We thought maybe 2:30 to 6, but nothing was changed there. And I'm wondering, because I don't know the answer, but I know nothing happened with the change. But I'm wondering, is it because the security guard couldn't come in any other time because he has another job? So I would like to know that.
If I may.
Is that the reason it wasn't changed?
No.
Mr. Manager?
Mr. Mayor, if I could, and I see the motion here was to schedule another public safety subcommittee, but we're more than happy to address some of these issues tonight. Coming out of that subcommittee meeting, there were a number of discussion points by some members of the staff regarding their concerns about safety. There were other members of the staff who I'm not sure were fully heard regarding their perspective on safety within the library. And I felt it was necessary to go back and have the staff sit down as a group. And I communicated this to the council in the motion response from back in December, and I formed a task force of the employees. I asked the employees, you participate, you weigh in, tell us what you think about how we should deal with some of the policies that we have at the library, and work with the library trustees. The issue of the security guard was raised, of scheduling that at a different time. And as Ms. Pitkin just described, they've looked at those. This group consists, the task force consists of members of the professional library staff, members of the library assistants. There were a couple of library assistants on this group, a couple of non-union people. There's the assistant director. There's a member of the board of trustees. So it's a wide-ranging a group that includes all levels of the employees at the library. And they went back and they've been working, and as Nancy just indicated, they've been trying to get input from all of the employees. Unfortunately, 4 members of the staff chose not to participate in the process at all of giving their feedback and giving their input and raising their concerns to this group that was designed to get employees involved in these decisions, involved in these actions. But the bottom line on the security guard is that the task force of the library employees prefer to have the security guard. And we hire a security guard firm. So the security guard's hours we can dictate, but they felt it was more necessary to have them at the current hours so that when the least number of staff people are there, they felt that would make it a safer that would deal more directly with safety, and that because of a shortage of funds, the tightness of funds, we couldn't really add more hours now, but what we could do is, as you've just heard, arrange for a police walkthrough 1 or 2 times in the afternoon. Now, Victoria Woodley, the director, and I spoke as recently as this afternoon, and we've been speaking regularly about this, of trying to find some other money to fund the additional hours of a security guard if that is the direction we want to head as we go through this with this task force. Unfortunately, what it means right now is we don't have that extra $11,000, $12,000 in the budget. We would have to cut back on other staff, or we would have to find other resources somewhere, and we simply don't have that at our disposal right now.
So, Mr. Mayor, if I might interject, how much money does the library take in through the fines that's generated from books not being brought back at the,
I don't know.
in
Do
a
we
timely
even-
fashion?
You know that? You don't?
But,
Tom knows that off the top of his head.
yeah, it's about $25,000 a year.
And we can't use that to make up the difference.
We already use it to balance the budget.
All right, I'm sorry.
But you know, looking at next fiscal year, that's certainly something we can look at as the possibility of, again, cutting something else somewhere, or cutting something in the library, cutting a staff person in the library to fund the extra hours of the security guard. But we're continuing. Again, we believe that this group of employees and the one representative from the Board of Library Trustees has really been doing some very good work. I mean, this is the ultimate in employee empowerment, is to get these people involved and let them make decisions and advice to the trustees and to the administration. And I think they're doing very good work, and it's my intention to keep this task force in place on a regular basis.
So could I ask, I'm not.
I just think it's unfortunate that not all employees have participated in this effort.
The policy that is in place changed so that it is reflective of the changes that need to be done. For example, the drop-off age at the library is 9 years old. Has the age increased, or does it still remain the same? Do we have an answer on that? Because we discussed that at the Public Safety Subcommittee. The drop-off. Parents can drop off their children at the library at 9 years old. I would never do that to my child at 9 years old, because I know what havoc would be created if I wasn't around and he met his friends there at 9 years old.
Yeah, I think that's one that was still in consideration for
So
review
we're not
right now.
completed.
It hasn't completed yet.
Let me stress this very carefully, that I receive justifiable complaints from constituents, and when I do, I try most times to follow through. I felt this was one of those times, and I did get a very troubling letter from an anonymous person, and I could say, oh, it's anonymous. They don't have any credible credit here, but they did a lot of research and showed me a lot of information about a person that was up in one of the floors, and I'm not going to mention any names, but it ended up that this person was drunk up in a section of the library that's very secluded, and the lady is not going to go back to the library in that particular instance, but I made a copy for everybody to see, and this is quite troubling, and I'm thinking to myself, where is the security guard at this time? I don't know. But I wanted to share this. This is the things that I get from people. I mean, I went to the supermarket. I said to a lady came up to me and said, you don't even know me, but I've been watching you for years, and I'm glad that you're pursuing it, because I'm rather elderly, and I go up to the library. I love to read. It's all that I have left. And some of the kids that get out of school are very disrespectful and very harassing to people of my age, and it's scary and it's troubling, and I don't like to hear that. We spent $10 million to refurbish that beautiful state-of-the-art building, and I wanted a place of solitude. I know that there are troubling kids and all this and that, but I want the policy looked at, and I wanted it. I'm just concerned about that. The bottom line here is safety in the building, changes and strengthen the library user behavior policy. I want it strengthened. I want it scrutinized. I want changes. I want that age of a 9-year-old to be raised a little bit higher than a 9-year-old kid, unless these people that work there are babysitters, and I don't think that they are. And I don't think they should be subjected to the harassment that they get. And I'm not saying this happens all the time, but we wouldn't tolerate it in this council chamber or any part of this city hall, and I think it shouldn't be tolerated in any city building. Evaluate the role of the security guard. I think you need to do that. Change the age of the child drop-off. access current policy and procedure and have everyone on the same page. I don't think it's appropriate that you kick the kids out that are being disruptive out the front door, and they're coming in the side door on the side of the library, and nobody's saying anything about it. That's not right. I wouldn't tolerate it. I know, I'm getting a little bit heated, but
You're also off topic. The topic was to refer this to the Public Safety Subcommittee.
yeah.
I want to have this debate at the Public Safety Subcommittee, be my guest. Councilor Caulfield.
And I will, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Public Safety Subcommittee convened a meeting mid-December. Councilor Elliott, Councilor Dakota, and myself. And it wasn't a meeting that lasted 20 minutes. The meeting lasted an hour and a half. And the subcommittee heard testimony from employees of the Pollard Memorial Library. We heard from both sides of the spectrum. There were 5 employees who furnished us with letters. Letters of concern, letters of safety at that facility. When we left that meeting, everyone, including the subcommittee, was with the understanding that the Board of Trustees, or the task force, was going to get back to the subcommittee with a report. And it was left, at least in my mind and the subcommittee's mind, that the gist of that meeting and the gist of the letters was to have the security guard brought in from, say, 2:30 to 6:30, because that's when all the disturbances happen. Now, if we're saying that the budget won't allow that, what's the budget, Mr. Manager? $316 million? We can't bring in someone else for 3 hours a day? We better throw in the towel. Now, someone from the library called me approximately 2 to 3 weeks ago, looking for those letters. And I explained to that person the gist of the letters is to have the security guard start at 2:30 in the afternoon rather than 5 to 9. And it was more or less left with me, well, we don't think we can do that. Well, the purpose of the meeting was to come to a solution, and as far as I'm concerned, the solution would have been to have the security guard start at 2:30 and work to 6:30. At least try it to see if that would alleviate concerns. Last Thursday, I searched high and low at my home, I searched my desk, I went into my locker, I found those letters. I had copies made, I brought the copies to the library, I gave a copy to the city clerk, and they have those letters. And if you read those letters, Mr. Manager, Mr. Mayor, the letters will indicate security guard, security guard, security guard, security guard. That's what the people are complaining about. It's not one employee that's complaining. Not one. If there was only one, you could more or less say, well, it's a disgruntled employee. There's 5 employees that are complaining. And there's 5 employees saying there's nothing wrong there. Who do you believe? I don't want to wait to see something happen that we can't live with. So the subcommittee was more or less convinced the librarian and the task force was going to get back to us. It wasn't up to us to call for a meeting. It was up to them to call for a meeting and bring their report forward. Never happened. Never, ever happened. They have the letters, and I would certainly ask the committee, the subcommittee, the safety subcommittee to convene a meeting, but I have to have a reason for the meeting. If there's no report there, there's no sense in having a meeting. So I'm looking forward to convening a meeting as soon as possible to bring this issue to closure. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Manager?
If I may, just the intent certainly was to have the task force bring its report to the city council and then refer it to the subcommittee. At the time that the subcommittee met, there was no task force. That task force was formed after the subcommittee meeting, because we had 4 or 5 employees that had indicated concerns. We have 8 employees that have indicated that they're concerned with some of the issues being raised, some of the positions being taken. The 8 employees felt that security guard hours should not be changed. They felt that there had some other broader perspective issues that they felt needed to be brought to the attention of the administration and the trustees, and they wanted to be part of discussing the solution. And that's what's going on, is they're discussing the solution. All of the employees working together. There are some people that, as I said, it's unfortunate they've chosen not to participate in that process. But the group is meeting, and I give them tremendous amount of credit. They are working very hard, very diligently, trying to get all the positions in there, trying to balance the safety issues that we all concerned. Councilor Mercier is correct. We're all concerned about the safety of the library. But there's also always concerns raised when we start to try to exclude people from the library. We want to make sure that the library's mission is accomplished, but obviously maintaining safety at the library. I think that the group, as Nancy read their preliminary report, they're close to completing that. They will be forwarding it to me. I will be forwarding it to the council, and then we can schedule that subcommittee to get in there and talk about what they have found. I think you'll be very pleased with the work that they've done. I think you'll be very pleased with the employees that have really put themselves out on the line to do this. And I just think it's unfortunate that the work that task force is doing is being somewhat maligned by pretty much ignoring it, what they've done. And so I ask, and unfortunately there was a big newspaper story the other day with some faulty information, some misleading information, and it sort of just went through the same stuff that went through back in December, instead of really getting at the hard work that the task force is doing, and the trustees are fully supportive of, to make sure that the library remains safe, but also, achieves its mission.
Mr. Mayor?
Council Broderick. Okay, Council Caulfield, okay. No, I mean, he had his hand up before you, and you've already spoken on the topic, but go ahead. He said, no, go ahead.
Mr. Manager, 2.5 months have elapsed since that first subcommittee meeting. 2.5 months. And I heard correctly, there's been 3 meetings with the task force.
No, there's been 4 meetings. They were formed in January, and there's been 4 meetings.
4 meetings in 2.5 months.
Well,
and why it's taken them so long to say, contact me or one of the members of the safety subcommittee, we'd like a meeting. And personally, I won't be happy unless there's a security guard there from 2:30 till 9. That'd be wonderful. It'd be wonderful. If we can't find the money to do that, there's something wrong. Something wrong.
Council Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I understand the intent of the motion, and I think it's a concern for all of us. Anytime there's a safety issue, that we have to deal with it as expeditiously as we can. But I do also understand that this came in on December 14th. I think that was the last meeting of the year for us as a council, and we didn't meet for 3 weeks because of the holidays and the schedule. So I can understand if it took some time to get this task force together. I'm encouraged by the fact that they have met 4 times. They have actually reached out to every employee. I'm not going to ask which employees didn't respond. Are they complaining now or not in not participating? But that can be saved for this subcommittee meeting maybe. But the reality is they're doing as much as they can to make this an exhaustive process so people aren't excluded, as has been referenced in other areas, so that I would rather get a more complete report with as much information as we can. And one of the things that I haven't heard, Mr. Manager, and the meeting was a long time ago, I don't have the same recall as my colleagues here, is are we going to get some feedback or some suggestions, or what are the other communities are doing in their libraries, and does anybody else have these issues? And I do have a concern about raising the age. I don't know what they're doing in other communities, but to penalize children or parents of children who may work, to say 9 years old is too young, you have to be 11. There are children now that may not have access to computers that need to for homework and so on. There are other issues here that I think we have to consider, and I would like some information from the task force and people that know more about this than I do. But I understand the concern of having an unruly place that ruins it for everybody. But I would like to know what other communities doing. I mean, we're not the only one with children and in a diverse population. So I would like some of that information as well. If it's a matter of a few more dollars for security guard and that's going to solve our problems, I'd like to know that too, because I think that, we can obviously make arrangements for that. But it sounds like there's more to this, and I look forward to the complete report. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was actually very pleased to hear Nancy Pitkin's report tonight. I mean, this work of this task force sounds to me like it's been very thorough, exhaustive, and ongoing. It's not something that was thrown together quickly as a result of a city council motion or a story in the newspaper or even a single incident at the library. This, interviewing every employee, sending out questionnaires to people that couldn't be interviewed, looking at the policies from top to bottom about safety and access, I think is laudable work. It's laudable work, and the fact that they haven't reported back to the council yet, 2 months, and we take longer than that on many issues. And so I think, I agree with the manager, it's too bad that their work is kind of being discredited or criticized for being late, when really they've been working very diligently at this. So I am eager to see what they have to say, because I think it doesn't do us any good to pretend there aren't problems, but it doesn't do us any good to pretend, to exaggerate the problems either. And I go in the library. I used to go much more frequently when I was here every day, but I go in there occasionally, and I don't see many problems, but I do speak to people that have seen problems. They've seen teenagers disrespectful to librarians and things like that, and things that frankly shouldn't be tolerated. But at the meeting in December, we heard from staff that for the most part they're able to deal with their problems in an efficient way. So, I think everybody is concerned about people's safety. I think we have a dedicated group who really want to make this, the first-class library that it is. Certainly we have a first-class structure, and I think we have dedicated people who want to make first-class programming match the structure. And so, yes, there are problems. I'm encouraged to hear that there's a group meeting to address the problems, and I look forward to seeing the results of their work. And I just, caution us to say, not ignore the problems that exist, but not exaggerate the problems that exist either. And let's hear from the people that are really spending some time to look at this carefully, what they suggest be done to fix the problems we do have.
Thank you. Council Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm very protective of my city because I am a city councilor, so any negative feedback that comes in regards to my city makes me very uneasy. And I can see that sense of pride in the library there, having people in the upper echelons of the library where someone is coming forward saying something negative would make me feel a little uneasy as well. So I can feel that sense, so I can relate to that. And having put that in that, area of comparison, I think that we have to step back a bit and know that even though we love the city, we love the library, it's not a perfect place. And I don't appreciate bringing up negativity and shine a light on the problems that are there. It doesn't do me any good because I love the library as I love my city, and I wouldn't want people pointing out, oh, gee, we get a gang problem, or we get crime, or we get break-ins. I don't like to hear that, and neither does the director, but the fact remains that unless we know about it and hear about it, we can't do anything about it if we don't know. So we know, we try to correct it, and we try to move forward. And that's all that I'm trying to do with my motion. I'm trying to say that although it gives me a bitter taste in my mouth that I have to focus on the things that are bad there, we have to do that, or else we're not going to make it a better place, a better facility for people to go, a better city for people to be here. And having said that, if I brought up bad things and you, Mr. Manager, said, I don't want you to do this, I mean, I don't know that we're exaggerating anything, but I certainly don't want anybody to make me aware of something and then be reprimanded for it. Absolutely not. That should not be.
Mr. Manager?
Telling the truth.
Counselor, if I have to jump in there, because I was just going to kind of let it slide, and and just kind of say that, let's all the task force will get its report completed in a very short time. We'll get that to the council scheduled public safety subcommittee. But I want to be very, very clear on this, because that's where one area that the newspaper story was tremendously misleading, and I said directly, and unfortunately was buried about 12, 13 paragraphs into the story. There was no employee told that they couldn't talk to the newspaper or that they couldn't talk to anybody. And there was no one that was reprimanded. There's a very
I have an incident report that proves the opposite.
That someone was reprimanded?
Yes.
Not for this, perhaps for something else.
Yes,
because
Mr. Manager.
Nobody was reprimanded for appearing before this city council.
Then why would they make a why would they?
I'm not sure why you're getting a complaint of a reprimand. If they have a complaint of a reprimand that's ill-advised or inappropriate, there's a grievance procedure in their contract, and they should have filed a grievance. No one has filed a grievance with me that there was a...
Did you ever hear the whistleblower law, Mr. Manager?
I'm well aware of the whistleblower law.
And we have that in this city as well.
I am
and
very
I
aware
am not
of it.
exaggerating.
If they want to say that they were reprimanded, but they weren't. They were spoken to.
Were you
They
there,
were spoken to, and they were advised. Any department head, before they reprimand an employee, has to go through me. And they were not reprimanded. They were told, look, we want to work with you. There's concerns there, and there's a better procedure to follow. I would hope that this task force, now that it's a permanent part of our organization, that if they have a complaint of, we think something should be tweaked, we think there should be a change here, they'll go to the director, and the director will pass it on to the task force, and the problem will be talked about and resolved.
Well, they're
That's
here.
a much more
Why don't we ask
appropriate.
them?
But even
They're
before
here.
that
Why don't you ask them,
even
Mr.
before that
Manager?
task force was set up, they should be going to the assistant director, the director, the city manager. They have their union representation that they can use. There wasn't a need. They were just told there's a better procedure to follow than jumping right up to the city council, because you're dealing with administrative matters, and that's where it should be handled. And we wouldn't be in all of this right now if it had just been handled at that lower level. But that didn't seem to suit the purpose. So again, they were not reprimanded at all. If they were reprimanded, there would be documentation in the files, and there's no documentation in
Well,
those
they're
files.
here. Why don't you ask them?
Councilor Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, were any of the employees that came to the Public Safety Subcommittee, were they appointed to the task force?
I believe one was.
One of the library assistants
I
were?
believe so. Well, there are two library assistants that are on the task force. I believe only one came, but I'm not sure. I wasn't here for that public safety subcommittee, but I know there are two library assistants
I thought
on
there were 4 or 5 of them that came. Most of them spoke at the subcommittee meeting. So some of them were put on or not?
I believe one was.
Okay. I think we all sit here and just off the top, it's kind of sad that we're even, at the last subcommittee meeting, I was thinking to myself, why, what has brought us to the point where we need security guards? What message does that send to the people that want to use the library? And it's true, there are a host of issues, and I don't think they're exaggerated, quite frankly. But again, why do we need a security guard? Why do we need one from 2:30 to 9, or 5 to 9, or 3 to 9? And I'm glad they're working on the policy, because I think, like anywhere else, whether it's in school or anywhere else, there should be a zero tolerance for disruptive behavior. And you're right, everybody should be entitled to use that library. I think we encourage it. That's why we spent $10 million on it. But you know what? People that are drunk, people that are vomiting, sex offenders, kids that go in and vandalize things. I mean, there was a fire in there. It was a short time after we had just finished the completion of that library. And whether it's perception or not, I think people are afraid to use it. Kids go there and they seem to be, apparently this seems to be a place where we can go and we're going to do things, we're going to get away with it. Now, I'm not saying that's a fault of anybody, other than we either have to put a stricter policy in place or enforce somehow those kids that are coming in, and not using the library appropriately. It's been going on for quite some time. Now we're going to have police checking, doing a check. And for safety purposes, I agree. But again, I go back to why are we at this point? Why? It's an urban library. I understand that. But it seems we have to make some significant changes and send a strong message to people going in, getting thrown out, abusing it, et cetera, that you're not going to be allowed back in. And maybe it's zero tolerance. You get one shot. If you're out, sorry, because I think Council Mercer's right. They're coming in one door and they're coming out another. I mean, I got another email just today, and I don't know if there's an incident report, but someone ripped the side off an upholstered chair in the teen section. Then there was a fight in the library last week where one man attacked and tried to choke another. I don't think people are calling with these complaints because they want to take the library down. I think there are some serious concerns that have to be met and addressed. And I'm not saying, and the work by the task force and the library trustees, we all appreciate it, myself included. So I know this. I'll presume this is going to the subcommittee. So and we'll get a report. There might be some frustration. I personally don't think people are dragging their feet. However, when instances continue to occur and there's still problems, we want to address it, and we want to address it as soon as possible. So I look forward to a further discussion and getting the report and letting people know we're going to make it's a safe place to go. We spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, and people should be able to go and use it without any fear or threat. And those people that work there shouldn't have to fear any retribution if they speak out. And I hope we can get there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Solicitor?
Just quickly, as far as any discussions with respect to employee discipline, obviously it's not something that the council typically would be discussing because, quite frankly, it's an inappropriate area for council discussion with respect to allegations of discipline and things of that nature. There are union issues, as the manager was explaining, there's grievance issues. With respect to any allegations of whistleblower violations, they have procedures as well. And those procedures, much like the grievance, are you can go to your immediate supervisor, and if that does not satisfy the problem, you would then go to the manager. So either way, at some point in time, the proper procedure would be to go to the city manager and work yourself through the process. Clearly, as you're hearing tonight, there's no evidence that has happened, but once again, what has happened is there has been a jumping of a process to the council, which legally is an inappropriate mechanism to be happening. So I just wanted to speak to that briefly.
Thank you, Madam Solicitor. Anyone else on the Council Caulfield?
Yes, the motion calls for the Public Safety Subcommittee to convene a meeting. I'm not going to convene a meeting. I want to ask the librarian, when would this report be ready? When can we have a meeting?
I would refer that to Ms. Pitkin. Nancy, do you have a sense of, do you think something we could have that wrapped up within the next 2-3 weeks?
In the next 2 or 3 weeks, we could have that report done.
3 weeks? That'd be 3.5 months.
Well, with respect, we did not start this task force until the end of January.
Right.
And then there was
We had a meeting December 14th.
Right, and I formed the task force at the beginning of January, then we sat down with, and chose the people to be on it, the trustees worked on it,
Right.
and they started meeting immediately after they were formed at the end of January.
It was the end of January. And then we had a snow day.
So have you met 4 times since the end of January?
Since the end of January, yes, because there was a snow day in there in February.
So when are you going to have information for the council?
We've been meeting on Wednesdays for about 2 hours every Wednesday. And because we just got the letters from the subcommittee meeting, the members of the task force haven't even seen them yet because we meet on Wednesdays. So I would say it would be at least 2 more weeks.
So, Mr. Manager, I'll wait for a call from you.
Fine.
And I'll inform my colleagues. And
I think that by I think council rule, it has to come back to the city council. The report will come back to the city
Well,
council, and then it will be
I'll
referred
wait
to
for
the
your
public safety
report,
subcommittee.
whatever. Right. And also, look at ways and means of finding funding
We are working at that.
for a security guard from 2:30 to 9.
But we are working at that, but I do want to be clear on one thing here, that Councilor Elliott, and I was going to let this go, but Councilor Elliott mentioned how bad it would come that we have to have a security guard. And I know that at the last subcommittee meeting, it was the fact that we had a security guard was almost seen as evidence that there was a problem there. We brought on a security guard 3 years ago, because we were dealing with this issue then by some employees that they had this sense of safety concerns, and so we said, well, look, what we'll do is, because at the time the concern was at night, so we said, okay, what we'll do is we don't know if it's really needed, but we'll bring on a security guard. And then it sort of got spun out on us that, well, there must be a security problem if you have a security guard. So it's a catch-22. Now we'll bring one on at the afternoon, and that will be further proof that we must have a problem. Let's determine whether we have a problem, and that's what's being worked on, and then let's figure out how we solve it. But I'm certainly aware of the effort to try to bolster the staffing of the security guard, and again, we're looking at it in terms of the overall staff structure of the library as well. But we're working at that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One question as well. When you provide a report to us, please let me know what the significance of the buzzer is. Do we have a buzzer that reaches into the police department?
No, ma'am.
We don't?
Can you hear me? The buzzer goes to the alarm company and they notify the police.
And do we use that?
It's been used once that I know of.
We have all these problems in the library and it's only been used once. I don't get it.
I'm sorry. Again, the motion is to refer this to the Public Safety Subcommittee.
But we're going to get reports, and I want that a part of the report.
That can be part of the report,
I want to know
Counselor.
about the buzzer.
Counselor.
Is it working? Do we use it? What's happening? Did the police come over? I want to know these things. That might help to add safety in there.
If I could just say, I was on the board of the library for 10 years, and I understand that there are issues that we're trying to get through, and I appreciate the work of the task force. I actually want to apologize to members of the Board of Trustees for some of the line of questioning this evening from some of my colleagues. I just think that it was, in some instances, not quite appropriate. The Board of Trustees, they don't get paid. They volunteer their time. They're doing good work for the
This
city.
is way off topic, and you're out of order.
And I
Way
said
off
that.
subject. This is
Out
no
of
relevance.
order. You're out of order, Mr. Mayor.
What's the wish of the committee?
Refer that to the city manager and the public safety subcommittee.
Motion to approve the motion to refer to the Public Safety Subcommittee. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? No. Last motion of the evening by Councilor Murphy. City Council requests the city manager to report on the maintenance plans for public facilities, including the Smith-Baker Center, to preserve current potential for future use. Second by Councilor Mendonça. Councilor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Included in the motion is the Smith-Baker Center. We had received a communication back in the fall, I think. There was some desire to present some information on the future plans for that Smith-Baker Center. at a subcommittee for the Arts and Culture Subcommittee. So if we could refer that to that subcommittee. But the general motion is really to make sure that we're preserving that potential within our public facilities that really are significant in the opportunities that they could present, that we're preserving that potential to a point where they can be fully used at some point during their life of their buildings. I live in the Sacred Heart neighborhood where the old Butler School was sort of left to deteriorate to a point where I think it's beyond, being beyond a point where it can be used for its fullest potential. But of course, on the agenda tonight, we've had the Varnum School, which clearly has, and would be a significant benefit to the city in the future, I think. So it's to get a report on the various plans that we do have for these historic type buildings that can't really easily be replicated. And then to refer that communication that we got to the Arts and Culture Subcommittee so we could have a fuller report there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Donza?
Certainly supportive of the motion. I am concerned, as Council Murphy is, of buildings like the Butler School, the old Butler School, and what the city is doing with those buildings. We need to either use them for some purpose and maintain them, or we need to make them surplus and let somebody else do something viable with it. And so that one is a good example of one that the city has let deteriorate over years. It wasn't your administration, obviously. It's been like that for decades. But still, it keeps getting worse every year. Nothing's being done to maintain it. It's going to fall in on itself pretty soon. So it's a danger. If it were privately owned, we probably would have voted to demolish it by now, and we haven't. So I think something needs to be done with it, and any other buildings like that need to do an inventory to see what we can dispose of to get them back on the tax rolls if possible.
Manager Lynch, then Councilor Caulfield.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I was the mayor in 2008, 2009, I did form a task force committee. Mr. Mayor, you were on that task force for the sole purpose of looking at the Smith-Baker Center and preserving the architectural beauty and protecting its general welfare. And part of that task force was the Lowell National Historical Park, the Lowell Plan, and many other people in the city. And the reason we want the National Historical Park involved, it's in the historic district, it's in the park district, and they are the key to securing funding and bringing that building back to its original beauty. I put on many shows at the Smith-Baker Center, many shows. It's a beautiful, beautiful facility.
Thank you. Councilor Martin?
How long did it take for that task force to issue their report?
Council, I can answer that. They acted swiftly and come back with a report in a timely fashion.
So is this one.
Mr. Manager?
If I could just speak to a couple of the topics. One, on the Smith-Baker Center, there was a task force that met over a period of months to come up with a plan to do something with Smith-Baker Center. The end result, the recommendation that they came up with was not achievable, but the National Park Service did come in and help us with some of the sort of buttoning up the building. There is a group now that's working through Cool to and the Park Service is involved with that, as well as the university and the community college, to try to develop a plan for moving forward with some use of that building. I understand the Butler School has been there before my administration, but if I could respond to that one, and just so that we all are clear as we leave here tonight, is that that one, of course, we considered for a new school. That was about 3 years ago, and the decision was made to not move forward with that. So therefore, it really became excess at that point in time. it's important to us, so the reason we haven't really done much with that is we've been working with a number of organizations to try to develop an economic development plan for that whole area. The back parcel has some redevelopment potential, and that parcel on Gorham has some opportunities for us for access that, or tying in with that development. So we're getting closer to having to either fish or cut bait on that, but just so everyone knows that the Butler, we haven't ignored the Butler. There's a method to that madness, if you will, but I will work on the report.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Council Murphy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I would note that in that communication that we had, there were several steps that had been taken. And so it's just to get an update at the subcommittee. And that if it does come back to its former glory, I would love to see that concert put on again and again by Councilor Caulfield. So we look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, vote. Motion to adjourn by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor signify by saying aye. We stand adjourned.